Into day one. Day one was of the first of the 5 days in which we learned through digital transformation. Day one covered what and why digital transformation is and why it fails. We got a series of good speakers on day 1 through 5. Amazing lineup. Day two, I'll give a quick overview. We learned about the Zoom case study in more detail, and then the hooked model, how design and UX can be a huge source of competitive advantage. And then day three is data. Day four is recommendation engine, virality. Day five is future proofing. So pretty amazing, right? Like starting off with an intro and of digital transformation, then getting into UX, then data, then recommendation engine, and then future proofing through the blockchain and virtual reality areas. So pretty awesome. And so day one starts with an intro. She's actually from California. I didn't know it was very close from where I live currently in El Dorado Hills. Has background in cinema, marketing, PhD in marketing, and has currently moved to UK, Ireland, and teaching there. Overall, I loved a lot of the tips that she shared by teaching. Right, lots of learnings from her. She did the online delivery, but it felt like I was in the class. Right, so she's upped the level for teachers and aspiring content creators like me to figure out how do I up my game. Right, so everything worked. The audio, video setup. It was from the first minute of the class starting, and the screen that she used in the background was able to be controlled by a clicker in her hand, and she was even able to use a pointer, which was like a big pointer that can project. And so she was using it all in her room. She was projecting from her room. She used various tools like Multimeter, Mentimeter for surveys, professionally dressed and really set up. So which is really important. Like if you're listening to me right now, you're probably looking at how well dressed I am too, because professors dress well, and that's just removes distraction. So really good set of speakers that she brought in throughout. Great set of breaks, highly engaging, and overall very well done. So I learned quite a bit. That was my main intention to go to the course, which was to learn what is it that I can learn from a superb teacher who's teaching online through this medium and is a master of her art. And I learned quite a bit. So let's get into day one before getting too much distracted on the quality of teaching, which was just amazing. But day one starts with an intro. And as to what is digital transformation, there are two types: competitive transformation and disruptive transformation. Competitive is when you use digital technology to just stay competitive and you do operational improvement and you help your consumer out. Disruptive is when you provide a completely different way of attacking the problem. Your consumer behavior is completely changed. You have a better solution. And so a lot of people shared examples in the class, which was pretty amazing. But there are two types. And we were able to very quickly in our minds classify, hey, is that a competitive transformation to stay in the game, or is it a disruptive transformation to completely change the way that value is delivered to the customer? And one key insight was majority, like 80%, like 70 to 84% of these transformations, digital transformations, actually are not successful. And there are many reasons. Why are they not successful? A lot of them require to reinvent the core of the business that you're currently working in. So it would require you to cannibalize your own biggest cash cow. It will probably require you to rethink. You will have to have a set of incubators. You will have to have a leadership that is strong, and you'd have to actually scale up quickly if you see the potential. And it's very hard. People are incentivized to not disrupt their biggest cash cow business, right? It's very difficult for companies to do. And so that's why transformations actually don't come from within, but they come from completely newer areas. So that was the main reason given, which was really interesting. And this guy that came in, JP Donnelly, right? I took his screenshot. Amazing guy. Like he actually shared such high amount of wisdom in this short 30-40 minutes, and he's an accomplished leader, but now is also lecturing. And he shared a few really interesting things around how brand is a huge source of competitive and strategic advantage. And there are so many traps that companies have: the culture trap, talent trap, ecosystem trap, metric trap. And that area of traps really resonated with me. I loved how he was able to simplify a lot of things and share how these companies who are in those traps can't transform themselves, right? He shared a really good book, Digital Matrix by Venkataraman. So I'm going to go check it out. But in a sense, he shared that, hey, for you to have that transformation to be successful, you have to be reinventing your core of your business, which is very hard. People are incentivized not to disrupt because their pay is based on the incremental revenue, incremental sales. And he shared one other framework, which is we are moving from the 4 Ps to the 4 Es. Look at that. That's the journey of, he's able to simplify a lot of this, which is difficult concepts into simple things like, hey, we're moving from 4 Ps, which is product, place, price, and promotions, to 4 Es, experience, which is everywhere, and focus on exchange of value, and is more dependent on evangelism, right? Very powerful, right? He's changed how people look at things, and he's simplified it so very well. And he shared that there are multiple traps that companies fall into, and it's very hard. So he's acknowledging how hard things are. So really loved the very first guest speaker, JP, and it was pretty amazing and refreshing to hear about the challenges that come with any transformation. So people ask, like, hey, who is responsible then, and how does this actually happen? And he said the core thing that's needed is time and a strong leadership which has the backbone to take strong, reasonable, data-driven bets, right? So he said that if you don't have those, then it's hard. But he also empowers that, hey, the process of transformation is a 4-step process. He says, start with a coalition, build your coalition, build the people that you think are like-minded, who see the problem that you see. And you all can think strategically as to why this is important for the company, right? And you start with small experiments. You have some wins, you influence those wins, and then you get momentum. And once, if you're super convinced and your leadership is not, then you can even go as to an extreme to start your own company. But in a sense, he's telling us a footprint, a roadmap as to how to do this. He's saying, hey, look at the value chain. Where is value being destroyed today that you see? Or where is value going to be destroyed tomorrow? And see that declining nature of the value chain. Propose solutions, right? Which is through these incremental wins, persistence, and time. And that's really needed. And you'll have to come up with creative solutions. You'll have to get buy-in all the way up to the CEO or the general manager, right? So that is pretty practical ways in which he's sharing how you can build and enable transformation. Isn't that amazing? So huge learning. This second guy that came in, I just applaud his ability and resilience. He was locked out during the time of the call. So he was literally sitting outside his home. I don't know how cold it was, but David Erickson, huge kudos to you, my friend, at NatWest. He took this entire call being locked out at the home, and he shared such amazing content, such amazing resources and values that he shared. Was just amazing. So a lot of learnings even on a audio call that he did switch on his phone off with a video. That's why I will take his screenshot. But a lot of learning from him. And the first thing he did at NatWest is he killed the standalone digital team. because he's like, hey, the game has changed. We're no longer playing basketball, we're playing football. So there's a different game. So digital transformation is different. People now make choices differently. Before, 20 years ago, when there was a problem in a banking or finance related, people go to the bank, ask the banker. Now they don't do that. He's like, people today go to Google. They try to find out and look at people's blogs, people's vlogs and like videos, and then they get recommendations. And people do things differently in terms of decision making. So he's like, hey, the way in which people make decisions much more complicated today, and so we have to change our offering based on the need of the hour. He says that the relationships that you would need in the future, the customers that you would want to serve in the future, those customers, you need to start serving them now, providing them value now, so that when you actually need them, they are there for you. So he shared an example of how this app was the insurance app, which was trying to avoid cars being stolen. It was actually helping people pay less for gas, helping people drive more sustainably, and so many other side fringe benefits, so that it was building an audience. It was building an active set of audience which was loyal, which was ready, so that when the company needed to push maybe related products, they could. But he also said very important thing, that no one likes to be cross-sold. So that is important. Like, if no one really likes to be cross-sold, then how do you do this? So you do this by providing real value. You provide real value, reduce friction, and when you do that, then people will stay loyal, and then they'll use your products and services naturally. Great insight, isn't it? He shared this book called Distinguishers, which he actually wrote. So David is he has a co-author in Sandra, but reading this book will help us to win customers at speed and scale at lower costs. So I'm really looking forward to a lot of these books that were recommended that we should probably read, right? As to how do you get those adoption and how do you empower all of your customers to evangelize? That's the key. How do you get your customers to evangelize for you, right? And he shared an example of Amazon where they're selling Kindle not for the technology, but they really want a better outcome. So outcome focused customer centricity was huge that I learned from him. And he's like, we need to go away from this lock-in contract based world to this lock-on, where people naturally want to work with you. They naturally want to use your products, and they like your products so much that they don't want to go anywhere else, right? So you want to go from locked-in contract to lock-on, where the quality of the product drives value so much. Like Amazon, think about this, right? Like, the convenience is just so much. The reduction in friction, the ease, the customer quality, customer service, just so good. That's what people really want, right? So amazing set of examples that he provided, Dropbox and a few others. And he said, again, like the first speaker, that disruptions happening typically a lot of times from outside the company in areas that you didn't even think about. So, and disruptions happening where regulation is always playing a catch up, meaning they're behind, right? And so Uber, Tesla, many other places where automated driving and others. And as long as disruption is geared towards better outcome and really genuinely helping the people, then that's gonna make it. It's all about customer centricity. It's about how you really help people to get to better outcomes. So that was day one. Isn't it phenomenal? 2 amazing speakers just in day one. Now we'll get into day 2.